Cyprus apparently has 300 days of sunshine a year. So what happens on the other 65? You're watching Cyprus Unfiltered, where I tell you real stories about real life here in Cyprus. So look, I'm British, right? And like all British people, we love talking about the weather. I love talking about the weather. It's like a British trait or a pastime. And the thing is, British people typically don't handle the weather very well, unless it's anything other than a cloudy day, right? If the sun comes out in the summer in the UK, it gets too hot. Everybody complains it's too hot. If it snows, people can't drive. The schools close. Everybody panic buys. All the baked beans have gone off the shelves. If it rains, we always say that it never stops raining and everybody's moaning. The only time we don't seem to moan as a nation is when it's cloudy and dry, because then it's cool enough. It's not too hot. It's not too icy. It's not too anything. And then people still moan that it's grey, right? So the thing is, a lot of people coming from the UK will often worry that Cyprus is going to be too hot for them. And I hear that a lot. We even considered it. My wife considered it. She thought it was going to be too hot for her. And the thing is, everybody thinks that Cyprus is just sunshine and 25 degrees all year round, and that's all you experience. But I'm going to do an interactive session tonight, and I'm going to show you what 25 degrees has looked like this week. And we're going to do some back and forth. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to go over to this one here. This is 25 degree Cyprus. And this is actually this week. This is the view from my balcony. We've had a lot of dust. We've had a lot of sandstorms, as it were. And this video here, you won't be able to hear the sound on this. I'll turn that off because I can hear it really loudly. This was on, I think it was yesterday morning. This was yesterday morning. Again, about 25 degrees, something like that. Absolutely hammering it down, right? When people hear it's 25 degrees, they just assume that it's going to be sunny, okay? Now, the reality is that's not the case, as you can see here, okay? The sandstorm that we've had has been nuts. So we've had dust. This is the roof of my car, and it just looks a little bit dirty. I appreciate the photo probably doesn't do it justice. So I'm just going to flick through these really quickly. You look at the dirt on this car, yeah? You look at the actual muck here. This car was washed a week ago. This is sand. This is what flies through the air. It's ridiculous. All down the side, looks like muddy water, but it's just sand from the air, right? Even to the point where our pool in a single day, went green, right? Because of the sand. My other car is black and it has this kind of green, yellowy hue on it. So you're looking down the bonnet and it has this hue of just like a luminous kind of color from the sand. It was a black car. Now it's not. Now it's got this sandy color. And it always seems to be whenever I've washed my car, then the sand comes, right? And this is common. This can happen several times throughout the year. But right now, that's the color of our pool, right? You can't even see the bottom of the steps or barely see the bottom of the steps. It's ridiculous, okay? So 25 degrees sounds lovely, but that isn't the full story. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight. The other thing is temperature feels different here in Cyprus because when people hear 20 degrees or 20, well, let's say 25 degrees in Cyprus sounds lovely, right? Sounds like holiday temperature and everything else. And when I was in the UK, for those of you who were kids, for those of you that were in the UK or are in the UK, if you ever had those grow eggs, you might have seen it in one of my previous videos. It's a little egg and it changes color with the temperature and everything else. Now, when my son was young, I remember walking into his bedroom and the grow egg was, I think it was about 25 degrees, maybe 26 degrees, and it was bright red. And it was in the summer. This was an English summer. And there's something about an English summer, when your bedroom is 25 degrees, it is crazy uncomfortable. And because he was young, he was only like less than a year old. Well, no, was he? He was less than 2 years old. He wasn't less than a year. He was less than 2 years old. We were panicking. We're like, oh my God, he's going to die. He's going to cook to death in his 25 degree heat. And we couldn't cool the room down. We got the windows open. We got fans on. And we ended up resorting to moving him into our bedroom because we had an AC unit that we could kind of poke the tube through the window just to try and cool the room down so he didn't die. Okay. This was 25 degrees in England. It was unbearable. 25 degrees in Cyprus, when I see the grow egg now in Cyprus, 25 degrees in the room, you're like, oh, it's lovely. It's nice and comfortable. 24 degrees outside. So I've been sat out 24 degrees several times in the evenings and it's chilly. It's really cold. It is a different type of heat. It's really hard to explain unless you've been here. It's really hard to explain, but it's a different type of heat. And right now, so according to my watch, it's 15 degrees outside. And again, it sounds lovely, but it's it's not particularly warm. And if you were to go out and it's 20, it's not particularly warm in the evenings, it's chilly. So people don't get it. People do not get it. So what about the summer? Because I'm going to start with the summer. I'm going to go through the seasons tonight. I'm going to start with the summer because this is what everybody thinks of when they go, I'm going to move to Cyprus. I want to move somewhere hot, right? And that was us. We wanted to live in the heat and visit the cold. So the core points of a Cypriot summer is it is intense. It's intense heat, especially around August time. It is really intense to the point where, people leave the island. People will go away. And you've got all the tourists coming to the island. So all the people from the UK that are sun-starved, they all come to the island. And the locals will go away. They'll go somewhere else because it's a bit cooler. And so, not everybody, but, you get people leaving the island to escape the heat. And the humidity is something else that you don't really appreciate until you come here. So for those of you that aren't familiar with humid air, it's when you come out of the shower and you, for whatever reason, you've come out of the shower, you're trying to dry yourself with a shower and you never really feel like you're dry. You just can't seem to get dry because you're always sticky, you're always damp, and it's always humid. And I'll give you an example of this. So I play paddle tennis in Paya sometimes. And I remember playing it last year when the humidity was really bad. And we'd finished the game and I was driving back and I thought, it's a nice evening. I put the roof down. So I put the roof down on the car. And as I'm driving back, I'm driving down Potima Bay and everything, my arms are sticky. The steering wheel was sticky. Just all the touch points in the car became sticky. And because it got dark at this point, I'd got my headlights on and it was the only way I can describe it is like driving through fog. In the UK, when you drive through fog and you've got your headlights on and you can barely see anything in front of you, that's what it was like driving in the humidity in the peak of summer, right? So I continue driving home and we live a little bit higher up than we used to. So where we live in Tala, the elevation's about 160 meters or thereabouts above sea level. And it is a completely different climate to 160 meters down by the sea. So you can go down by the sea and it's really sticky. By the time I got home on that drive, there was no stickiness. I got out my car and it just felt like a nice warm summer's night. The humidity had gone because Tala sits above the humidity line. Now it still gets humid in Tala. Don't get me wrong. It's not, you can get humid all over the island, but you get less of it. So when it's really sticky down by the beach and down by the sea and down by the harbor, you come inland a little bit and it's a lot cooler, it's a lot more bearable, which is why a lot of people that tend to live out in Cyprus, they'll move inland, one, to move away from the sea and the tourists, and two, because it's just a little bit more bearable. So it's just something to bear in mind. But the other thing is, again, I didn't appreciate this until we started living here. In fact, until we moved into this house. The night after I got home, so I came back to Tala and I wasn't sticky anymore. I haven't been sticky sort of 15 minutes earlier. I woke up the next day and I remember looking out on my balcony and looking down towards the sea. Because we've got a sea view where we are, and I was looking down towards the sea. And normally you can see in the distance, you can see some of the hotels and you can definitely see the sea, but you can see some of the hotels, you see the houses and everything down there. And the only way I can describe what I was looking at in the morning, when you go on holiday and you leave the UK and you come up in the aeroplane and you hope it's raining when you leave because then you hope it's sunny when you arrive to the place you're going. And so you're coming up through the clouds and all of a sudden you break through the clouds and the sun comes barreling through the windows and you're looking down at the UK and you can't see it because all you can see is a bed of cloud, right? That's what I saw from my balcony. I couldn't see any of the hotels. I couldn't see the sea. I couldn't see anything. It was like looking down into cloud. That's how it looked, looking through the humidity. And it's crazy because the humidity changes so much and you don't appreciate it until you get here. And the thing is, it can make life very uncomfortable depending on where you are. It can make yourself very sticky. And so when people talk about the Cypriot heat, it's not just the heat, it's the humidity as well. Now, for those of you that have ever been to Nicosia, you'll know the difference between the dry heat and the humid heat of Paphos. When you go to Nicosia, if you ever go in the peak of summer, typically it's warmer than it is on the coast. On the coast, it could be 30, 35 degrees, and you go to Nicosia and it'll be 40 plus. And when you get out the car in Nicosia, there is no humidity. It is a dry heat. You open the door, like the oven heat has hit you in the face. And so it is the further inland you go, the less humidity there seems to be. And like I say, Nicosia, there just didn't really feel like there was any humidity whenever we've been, but it's a really intense dry heat. I mean, I actually really like it. I love the heat. So we moved out here in the first place. But, summers are hot. They are hot and they are humid. If you're going to move out here, just know that a small distance, can make a big difference. We're 15 minutes inland, and yet our summers are way more bearable now than they used to be. Previously, we used to be only 40 meters above sea level, and we were really humid all year round. And here is a lot more bearable. We're only 160 meters up, so it's a lot different. The other thing to bear in mind with Cyprus and the summers is because of the dryness, we get forest fires. Okay. So I'm going to move over to this again. And let me just, it's going to be quite interactive tonight. It's not going to be interactive. I'm just going to be showing you stuff. I'm going to show you stuff. So, that's a spoiler alert. Let me come to this. Right. So I've typed it in, Cyprus wildfire. Okay. Now, this one's 19 hours ago, and this is just news from 19 hours ago. EU firefighting hub in Cyprus set to launch ahead of 2026 wildfire season. We have wildfire seasons out here. There are times throughout the year it gets so dry that fires will start, and we have wildfires. And since I've been here, I've seen and heard of multiple wildfires out in Polemi. You can drive that way, and it was all scorched at one point. People were being evacuated from houses, and people were losing their houses, and it's horrific. So depending on where you live, again, if you're going to move somewhere, check for wildfires, because if you are going to come out in the summer, there are quite often wildfires. And so you look at this, and we've got a wildfire season. And then you look at this stuff, this is a month ago, a week ago, but come down here, 8th of December 2025. What's this one? So recovery from wildfires in July, because there were some last year, as I say. Just keep coming down. I mean, basically, 10 people were killed in the fires last year, right? Now, what is interesting, actually, and I'm going to show you more fires in just a second. What is interesting, though, when the wildfires are going on, and this is something I've never experienced before, because where we are, you can see the sea. The helicopters flying out to the sea, excuse me, helicopters flying out to the sea, you've got these huge, big water grabbers. They just fly out to the sea, drops down, grabs a load of water, flies back inland, dumps the sea on the water. It's kind of fascinating to watch. They're coming from the UK. I've never seen stuff like that before, so anyway, kind of find that fascinating to watch. But anyway, so not only do you get wildfires, but sometimes, and this is again, you can kind of get this anywhere in the world, but you can get arson. And this is really frustrating because, when you've got wildfires doing their thing throughout the summer anyway, then you've got idiots doing arson in the winter. So this fire here, I say winter, I mean, this was October last year. And this was actually near my house. This was near Tala. It was actually on the hills in Tala. There was a wildfire because I think it came to light that it was started by an arson attack. And somebody, don't know what it was, just somebody had started this fire, and it went all over the countryside. And I was on a nighttime walk. I was walking around doing my normal evening walk. And I could just see this orange hue glowing. And I was like, yeah, it was getting brighter and brighter and brighter. Holy crap. So I kind of figured out that there was a fire going on because I kind of went up high on my house and I could see the glow. And I was like, okay, I need to go and check this out. Not because I wanted to be interested in a way, but I was thinking, this is a bit too close to home. Like, do I need to evacuate the family? Never had that in the UK, but it was something I needed to bear in mind here. So I went for a drive, one, to see how close it was, and two, see if there's anything I could actually do to help anybody. But you see here, the whole countryside was on fire, right? And then this is a video, you can't hear it, but you can see all the flashing lights. And so the emergency services are on scene, and I think they controlled this within about 3 or 4 hours, something like that. But literally, somebody just set the countryside on fire, and because it's dry, even in October, it's dry, just catches, it just goes up. So wildfires are a thing in the summer. Wildfires are a thing outside of this because, unfortunately, some people are idiots. And it was actually this night here, so just some more pictures there, but it was actually this night where I encountered the most polite emergency services in the world, because I was, at this point, once I saw the blue flashing lights, I'm like, right, well, there's literally nothing I can do here to help. I'm just going to be in the way. So I thought I'll turn the car around and go back. So I spun the car around, went to go back, and then there's emergency services driving towards me. And they wanted to let me past. Don't let me past. I literally pulled in, And I'm like, they were waiting for me to go. I'm like, no, I'm flashing. I'm like, no, you come. Like, you've got the flashing lights. You come past me. And so they came past and they waved. Like, like it's an emergency. Just push past. I'd figure it out. But again, even at this point, they'd got the lights on. And for those of you that see my driving videos, the emergency services seem to drive around with the lights on all the time. But it doesn't matter whether they're doing something or not. They just seem to have their lights on all the time. And I remember this fire engine coming past me, came past me with the lights on, but the sirens still weren't blasting. Now, I have heard sirens before from police cars and ambulances and things, but the sirens still weren't going. And I'm kind of thinking, the Tala countryside's on fire. At what point does it become enough of an emergency to put the sirens on to ask people to move out the bloody way? I was just like, the politest emergency service in the world. Anyway, made me smile. So look, the point is, summers are dry. You can get fires. Bear it in mind if you're going to move out to parts of the countryside, and probably have a look on Google. Have a look at Google News and Google the places you're thinking of living, just in case it's been hit by wildfires previously. But the other thing about summer is that because it's so hot and because it's so dry, we get regular water cuts. And this is one of the things that shocked me the most about moving out to Cyprus, was the fact that I love the country, right? Don't get me wrong. I love the country. I love living here. I've got no regrets moving out here. But at times, it feels a little bit third world, because I can be sat here and it feels just like anywhere else in the world. But yet you can go downstairs and all of a sudden you've got no water. And this used to drive me insane. Where I used to live near Paya, I mean, we were getting regular water cuts. And, for those of you watching from the UK, you will literally take for granted that when you turn the tap on, water comes out. It's just a given, right? This is what happens. You turn the tap on, water comes out. But that's not the case here in Cyprus, or at least it hasn't been in my experience. So when I lived near Paya, I was waking up several times and we'd got no water in the morning. Now, that's not a problem when it comes to washing, because you have your water tanks on the roof and they're heated with solar and everything anyway. So you've always got like water on the roof, which you can wash with and things like that. But you don't drink that water, you drink the fresh water. And the problem is, it's the fresh water that gets cut off. So you've got a period of time where you can still wash if you've got big enough tanks on the roof, but they'll run out if the fresh water's turned off, because they don't top back up. But when I was waking up in the morning to take my son to school and then go to the gym, well, annoyingly, my gym, I guess because water is so bloody precious, my gym doesn't have anywhere where you can actually self-serve water. I can't fill a water bottle up in my gym, which is ridiculous. But anyway, so I just fill it up from home. But there were several times when you wake up in the morning and you can't fill your water bottle up. So now I'm going to the gym with no water because I can't drink anything. So I go to the shop and buy a bottle of water or whatever. So as a result, I ended up buying a water cooler, because through the summer, when you do get water cuts, you just go, well, this is nuts. You just need a regular and a reliable source of drinking water. So that's what I did. I ended up buying a water cooler so I could do this. And the thing is, right, I'm going to move back to another one here now. So water cuts, just so people don't think I'm exaggerating, this here, and again, it's the press, so the press can exaggerate. But the point is, water scarcity flagged as top risk to Cyprus economy in new survey, right? And you're going through this, and it's just talking about water cuts and everything else. And it's talking about how, right, it's the highest among threats to the economy, scoring 91%. It's behind cyber attacks. It's behind climate conditions, and it's behind labor shortages. It's behind digital transformation. Water cuts are apparently the biggest threat to Cyprus. So last year, there was loads of desalination plants being built and set up so we didn't run out of water because, and I'm not joking, last year, and I don't know if this got enforced, but it was, again, what I read in the news, if you were caught washing your car using your hose pipe to water your plants, right? There was a hose pipe ban. And if you were caught using it, you could get fined. Now, you might go, well, that's not a big deal, but you could get fined up to, I think it was €3,000. And check this, you could go to prison for using your hose pipe. Now, I'm not exaggerating. Check this out. Oh, let's go to the Seaside Luxury, now 25% off. Let's not do that. Right. You can go away. Right. Cyprus approved stricter water conservation laws with €3,000 fines. Now, this was last year. I think it was May or something like that. Yeah, 22nd of May, 2025. Right. here we go. The council ministers have approved tougher legislation to combat water wastage, with fines reaching €3,000 and a potential 6-month prison sentence for violations. So if you're wasting water, washing your car, watering your plants, hosing the sand off everything, because this dust that you saw in the pool and on the cars, it gets everywhere. If you've got patio furniture, everything gets covered in dust. So if you get caught using your hose pipe, then in theory, according to this, you could have gone to prison. And I remember reading about this last year. I've never, ever been faced with the threat of prison for wanting to use my hose pipe. But there's a thing in Cyprus because water's so flipping scarce. So anyway, that's the summer. Summer is hot. And that's why I just wanted to point this out. Summer is hot. And I love it. I wouldn't change it. I absolutely love it. Like I say, we want to live in the heat and visit the cold. So what about autumn? Well, autumn, to an extent, the summer kind of carries on. And nobody really talks about this much because in September and in October, it's still really hot, to be fair. By UK standards, it's still really hot. But the great thing about September and October is that there's less people. Because come September, all the families have gone off the island because all the kids are going back to school. So then you're just left. You see the red number plates driving around, which is typically all the hire cars with tourists in. And whereas through the summer, you see these little hire cars packed out with families, all doing the rounds, doing the thing. And then in September, the families disappear and it's typically 2 people in the cars and you've got couples driving around because they've got the cheaper holidays after the summer peak. So all the families go. You've then got the couples driving around and essentially the heat is still there and you've just got less people on the island. The traffic is less. You've got less people, so there's less queues everywhere. It's just less busy. It's still busy, compared to say, late October, early November, it's still busy. But point is, it starts to die down. But the temperature, it's kind of a gradual drop. It's not like it gets to sort of September and then in the UK, all of a sudden, it's like rainy season starts. You've had your 2 weeks of summer. Rainy season starts about, August, carries on till about, July. It seems to be rainy season all year round, apart from those 2 days when it snows and then everybody panic buys. So literally you're coming into October, November, and it's still warm, okay? And you don't really get much rain until November. You don't see much rain really until November, which is why it ends up being so dry, which is why you have these fires. And if somebody starts a fire like October, then it's the ground is still dry. And so the point is the temperature stays warm for quite a while. And, I remember even on Boxing Day, the first year we moved here, even on Boxing Day, me and my family, we'd gone out for a walk and we were in shorts and t-shirt on Boxing Day, December 26th. So it stays warm quite well into the year. Now, obviously the evenings get chilly, but even the water park is an example, right? So you've got Paphos Water Park and that will change and that will open and close depending on the weather. And so they don't have a set opening date. They don't have a set closing date. It all comes down to temperature. And I remember the first year, so what was it 2023, we moved to 2024. I think we had the season tickets. November the 1st, 2024 was the last day of Aphrodite's water park closing because that was the last day of the season. And I remember we went there and the water was chilly. I'm not going to lie. The big wave pool, for those of you that have been, that big wave pool, that was it was 20 degrees. That's what my watch told me. So 20 degrees. So the water was chilly. But the cool thing is it was still warm enough when you're walking around. The sun was still out, so it still felt warm. On November the 1st, not only was there no tourists, but there was not really any locals either. Because when we got there, the staff were telling us that up until about 10:30, 11 o'clock, there was no guests. So they kept the park open and we rocked up after school. We took, picked the kids up from school and we went to the water park, I think it was like a Friday afternoon or something, whatever the date was, the last day anyway. And so we were there in the afternoon. And for those of you that know, there's the volcano and then there's this big kind of bouncy cushion thing where you've got ropes and you just kind of bounce around and jump off it and slide down. And, in the summer, when you've got more guests there, you get timed and you get 4 minutes. And on the last day of the season, it was awesome because they didn't even bother to time you. They were just like, yeah, just go and play. And just the guy said, there's no queue, there's no people. So yeah, just come off when you're bored, right? So the weather was warm enough to do that. And this is November the 1st. So autumn here is really nice. We really like it. But then the thunderstorms come. And this is just as phenomenal as the sun, in my opinion, because what you end up with is kind of like nature's TV. So if you've got any, for those of you that move over here, for those of you who've got panoramic views of the sea and things like that, when you're looking out to sea, it's like nature's TV. And honestly, I'm going to show you some of these now. The views we were getting were phenomenal. So this is actually in the current place where we're living. And for those of you that don't really know what you're looking at, it just looks like cloud here. But what we've learned over the years is that where you've got this darker cloud here, that's the rain hitting the sea. And where you haven't got the darker cloud, there's no rain there. And so you can literally see the rain coming in, and you can kind of time it. You go, right, when you see the rain on the horizon, you see it blowing in, you go, okay, we've got about 10 minutes till the rain hits. And you can just literally see it moving in waves, okay? Then you get these water spouts, which are really freaking interesting to watch. There's we get tornadoes, right? We get thunderstorms, we get tornadoes, but you get these water spouts as well. And so there was like a whole bunch of them out at sea. But basically, if I just stop the video, it's like a water spout. It's like a tornado of the water spout coming down. And it's just phenomenal. Like, I've never seen anything like this outside of Cyprus. And again, you can see here, you've got the dark spots where it's actually raining, and then you've got the bits where it's not. And the weather's changing so frequently like this. The thunderstorm comes in, and then you can see the sun coming in, so you know the thunderstorm is going to end. And it's just phenomenal. So you can sit there and watch it for ages. You just get your cup of tea and you watch it. And then you see stuff like this. So for those of you that know the road, this is the Potima Bay Road. This is the road coming from Paphos to Coral Bay. Now, you look at this, it almost looks like snowy mountains. But when you're driving down and you're looking at the weather out to sea, it is freaking amazing. Well, I thought it was. You look at that. And I just found that fascinating. It looks like mountains to me, but you can see the sea there. This is, like I said, down near Coral Bay's Potima Bay. In fact, this is where the new marina is going to be built, if ever it comes. This won't be here. There'll be a new marina there. But anyway, so you've got this here, looks like mountains. And you've got the thundery skies here. So this is the view from our first house. And you've got this thundery sky. And again, I just found it fascinating. It was lovely to watch. And when you're watching lightning happen over the sea, even though you go, okay, right, it's autumn, coming into winter, we've now got thunderstorms. It's not this grey, drizzly, crappy rain that you get in the UK. When you get a thunderstorm, I mean, you saw the rain coming down yesterday that I showed you the video earlier. When you get a thunderstorm, it's fascinating to watch. And I've been sat in this house, and I've had the thunder go off, and I've never felt thunder in my chest. It was that loud that it kind of resonated in my chest. It was almost like you're in a nightclub. It was like, bloody hell. Like, it didn't hit anything here, but it felt like it hit. Literally, it was that loud. So it's just phenomenal. And let me just come back to me for a second. That's the other thing I wanted to say. So, no, right. So showing the photos, right. So now, that's your autumn. And then you get to winter. And I'm not going to bang on too much about how cold winter is, because a lot of you have seen my heating video. You know winter's cold. If you have seen that video, you know winter gets cold. Not ice cold, but it gets cold. And because houses here aren't built like they are in the UK, the insulation is totally different. And while the modern building standards are improving, most of you coming out here, if you're renting a house that's a few years old, or you're buying a house that's a few years old, you're going to feel the cold. Even though it might be 10 degrees outside, you're going to feel the cold because they're not insulated properly. And so the thing is, you can, when you're here, be on the beach and it can be 10 degrees, right? And then you can go 2 hours inland, not even that, about an hour and a half inland, and you can ski all in the same day, right? Now, I got a video on this because this was a video I filmed a couple of years ago, actually, before I started doing this channel. And I was doing this for something else. But anyway, this was me. And I can't remember what the date was. But anyway, it was about January, February time. And I was stood on the beach. And we went for a drive. And we were driving to the Troodos Mountains because it was sunny, right? No, it wasn't. Because it was snowing. It wasn't sunny at all. It was sunny here. So this is the video I did. And just check this out, right? It's only about 30 seconds. The sun just only think of the beaches, think of the sea, think holidays. I'm going to show you a different side of Cyprus you don't want to get to see. I mean, that's no, less than 2 hours away from where we were still on the beach. So this was about an hour and a half away, 2 hours away, right? And the ski lift's going. And I tell you what, it's hilarious because when British people come to Cyprus, the locals, and I know I'm not local, but I do feel like a resident, well, I'm a resident, but you try and distance yourself from the tourists a little bit, because when they come out, they will go to the beach, they'll get burnt and they get lobstered and they're all pink, and you just know the type, because they're here for 2 weeks of the year, and so they have to go in the sun and burn themselves because they might not come away and see the sun for another year. So I get it. I used to do exactly the same thing, right? We all did. Anybody from Britain goes away on holiday, you sit in the sun. That's what you want to do. You want to be in the sun. But with Cypriots, I found this hilarious. When we went to Troodos, you'd got families who had taken picnic benches and they were sat in the snow. Right? This to me was alien, because you don't sit in the snow, it's cold. So we went to the snow because we went sledging and we were having snowball fights, me and my son were, and everything else. So we're there having, fun in the snow because it was snowing on the island, and let's go see it firsthand. You get there, and there's literally people sat out with picnic tables having picnics, no fires or anything. They're just sat there, wrapped up in their coats and everything, drinking. Like, you can see the steam coming off the coffee or the tea or whatever. Just sat there in the snow, big families, just sitting in the snow. I find it hilarious. But anyway, it's just like, it's what you're used to. It's what you're not used to. They find it hilarious when they see all the pink Brits walking around because they've all got sunburnt, because it's like, oh, they're so sun-starved. But yeah, when it does snow, I mean, you can go skiing and everything else, but yeah, you'll see a different side of it, because we're used to the kind of cold, miserable weather. You come out and it's just, you'll have a snowball fight or whatever. But yeah, when you're seeing it, it was funny to watch firsthand anyway. Like I say, I don't disrespect them for doing it. I just found the culture was different and it was funny. And that's why I love different cultures, because you see stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily see. But yeah, so it does get cold in winter for sure. And the further inland you get, it will be more cold. So as an example, Cathicus, in fact, I wasn't going to show this, but I will show this. So if I just change this to be maps, and I show you Cathicus, I'll show you a couple of things actually on here. Let me just make sure I'm not blocking myself. No, go to map view. So for those of you that know the area, we've got, actually, I'm going to use, hang on a minute, let me go back to that. I'm going to use a different map view, because that one has all of my own stuff over it, and it's going to be quite hard to see. So if we use this map, that should be easy to see. There we go. Right. So you see here, you've got this place called Cathicus. So from where we are, so we're in Tyler. In Cathicus, this is about, 20-minute drive away. And if you're in Cathicus, it's about 15 minutes maybe to Paya, something like that. Actually, we can get to it different ways. Maybe it's 10 minutes to Paya. The difference between, say, the coast down here and Cathicus in the summer can be 5 degrees. It can be 5 degrees cooler in the summer. And the thing is, we've gone out for dinner in Cathicus in the summer because it's just that little bit, it's refreshing. You actually feel a little bit of cool air when you go up there, as opposed to all the heat all the time. So again, the further inland you come, the cooler it is. Now, Sada, this is interesting. I found out from a local just recently, up until probably 2 or 3 years ago, well, maybe a few more years, but because the seasons all seem to be shifting, I don't know if it's global warming, I mean, it seems to be shifting in Poland, it seems to have shifted in the UK, and it certainly feels like it's shifting out here. But up until recently, from what I'm told, even Sada used to get snow. Okay, so when I'm talking about the Troodos Mountains, I'm talking about over this way. You've got Mount Olympus and everything else, but Troodos Mountains around here is where you get the snow. And in fact, if I just type Troodos, might even see some pictures of the snow. And there you go. So you can literally, I've just shown you a video, but it's proper winter. You get proper winter. You can go skiing if you want. Now, I'm sure it's not going to be French Alps quality of snow, but you get snow. Anyway, thought I'd just show you that. So the last thing I'll say about the winter is, forgotten. That's rubbish, isn't it? Oh yeah, just the cost. And I'm not going to bang on about this because I did do a whole video on winter heating and cost. But the winter, you will probably be spending quite a lot of money to heat your homes in the same way that you spend a lot of money to cool your homes in the summer if it's a older type house. So just something to bear in mind. And again, if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it because it kind of breaks down all the costs with regards to different types of heating, the diesel heating, electric heating, things like that. So yeah, just something to bear in mind. Winters do get cold. 10 degrees, even if you're down by the coast, is still freaking cold. So then you get through winter and then you get to spring. And that's where we are right now, which is quite nice. So again, because we've had so much rain, and we don't normally get this amount of rain, so we're in April now. And I remember it was one of my son's friends' birthdays. I was going to say last April. It's every April. Anyway, his birthday's at the start of April. So when we first arrived, I remember needing to leave and go to the UK on business. And so I kind of joined them at the party to start with, because as I say, kids' birthday parties, typically the adults get invited as well. And it's like an adults and a kids thing. And I remember getting burnt on my head and then getting on the plane and going to the UK. Last year, same people had a pool party and had a bouncy castle in the garden, had a pool party. It was lovely. Weather was amazing. And then this year, because we've had so much rain, that totally changed. And it was raining on the day of his birthday. Now, that's not been a thing for us in April since we've been out here. April has been really, really wet. If you've seen any of the news, though, and again, I'm going to come back to this. If you've seen any of the news, though, you'll be hearing that Cyprus has gone green. Now, the amazing thing is about spring and autumn, to be fair, when the rain does come, or sorry, late autumn, early winter, when the rain does come, Cyprus does go green. So I wanted to show you this. For those of you that don't know where this is on the north coast, and this is up near Polis. So it's actually, if you go up to Polis and Latchi, and then driving east as you get up there, this is the view that we had. So you get some of the mountains or the hills, and it was all green. And I'm used to seeing this as sandy coloured dust, but it was all green, right? And again, driving down, you got perfect horizon. So it's like somebody's drawn the horizon with a pen or a pencil, because there's no humidity this time of year. And this is why I always feel sorry for people when they come and visit in the summer. Because of the humidity, you've got all of these people that are out trying to take pictures of the sunset and everything else. And I feel really bad for them, because, to be honest, the summer pictures are the worst because of the humidity. So I remember when my wife and I, the first time we came to Cyprus as a couple was in 2011. And it was about August time. And come back to me for a second. It was about August time. And we were trying to get a picture of a sunset, because that's what you do, right? When you don't see the sunset in the UK, or very often, you come on holiday, you want to take a picture of the sunset, because that's what you do. And for 2 weeks, every single time, without fail, for 2 weeks, the whole 2 weeks we're here, we tried to take a picture of the sunset. And every single time, the sun, as it neared the horizon, kind of disappeared behind fog, behind the humidity. And we could never get that crisp, the sun touching the horizon and just disappearing below the horizon. We could never get that. And the thing is, most of the time you won't get it in the summer because of the humidity. But then when you come back to this time of year, you look how crisp the horizon is. It's a perfect time of year to get your sunset pictures. It's amazing. Like this, the weather and everything else is just so much clearer this time of year. Now, you still can get humidity, like I said, with this, well, it's not humidity, you still get unclear skies through various things like the dust and everything else, because that comes over from the Sahara. But for the most part, when you don't have the humidity, you get much better pictures, you see. Again, you get all these flowers drying up. And the reason why I'm just showing you this is because, again, it's not really the type of Cyprus that you kind of expect to see. You don't expect to see greenery, flowers by the sea, by the beach, because you just expect to see sand, but it's not always the case. This is down by Cap St. George's. Me and my boy were there a few weeks back. Cap St. George's, and again, all of the bushes are green. Now, did I show you guys a driving video? I don't think I showed you a driving video, but basically me and my son went driving and we were off-roading. It might be on the next picture. No, it won't be on the next picture. But we were off-roading around here because there was none of this greenery. It was just literally like a desert. So there was nothing to stop you just driving around. You literally you could just drive around freely, you see. But now all of this greenery is there. And again, for those of you that know the area, if you go down to Cap St. George's Bay, and you'll see this island, it's quite prominent. But again, I've never seen it with this much greenery. Like you see some of the sand down there where people do drive, but I've never seen it with this much greenery. And that's the thing, you just don't see it. And now, or so you don't normally see it until you get this amount of rain. And the amount of rain that we've had this year has now filled the reservoirs up, and hopefully there's going to be less water pressure this year as well in terms of shortages and all of that good stuff. So I'm hoping the rain's been a good thing. And the thing is, actually, I wanted to show you this. Let me just search for this, because let me just Cyprus. Cyprus. Cyprus satellite green. That's descriptive, isn't it? Still found it though. No, check this out. Right. So you can see this here. That's a better picture. There you go. Let me just open this in a new window. So you can see it full screen. Open. Do this. Oh, how crap. That's worse than the other one. Right, let me just zoom it in. Right. It's low resolution, but you get the picture, right? So this, September 2018, and this is January 2019, right? But every kind of summer, it goes yellow. The island goes yellow and dusty and it loses all its color, apart from the mountains. You can see the mountains here and you can see the mountains on the top of the island here. But then you get to spring, and because of the rain, the island goes green. And it's beautiful. Like, you don't normally see the side. If you're just coming away on holiday, you don't normally see the side because most people come in the summer. So Cyprus will go green at certain times of the year. And I just find it fascinating. I find it beautiful. So anyway, thought I'd just share. So air quality. I know it's not seasonal. Well, it is, but it's not. So we've had the dust now. This is something I do want to bear in mind. I do want to bring to your attention because although, do not like Facebook sometimes. It refreshes and I don't want it to refresh. So when you get the dust storms, that can happen multiple times a year. Typically, it happens when you've just washed your car. Sod's law. It doesn't seem to matter when it is. You always seem to happen when you wash your car. But the dust can come any time of year. It's not constant, but it just kind of recurs across the seasons. And, it just depends on which way the wind's blowing, I guess. It comes over from the Sahara. And then, as I say, it made this yellow-green dust on my car, and it kind of gives us this green hue, and you get it all over the windows. Your windows are dusty, the pool gets filthy, and the air quality drops to the point where even the kids at school get kept inside because there's so much dust in here, you don't want to be breathing it in. So you'll see people with face masks for outside sometimes, but the kids at school get kept indoors because of the dust. So if the dust does come and you get these dust storms, then the kids get kept in school. Now, like I say, this isn't necessarily seasonal. It kind of just, I don't know, I've not found a pattern to it. It kind of just happens whenever it feels like it. But I want to show you this because, again, I'm going to do a bit back and forth. So I've got Facebook here. This is the Met Office for the RAF Akrotiri base. And basically, I wanted to show you this one because this was a day ago, right? So you check this out. So you can see the island of Cyprus here, and this here you can see the dust cloud. Now me and my boy have been over to Larnaca this weekend, so we were kind of over this side, and we've not had anywhere near the amount of dust that's been over here. So my wife was sending us pictures, and it's been raining and everything on Paphos side. Me and my boy were out having breakfast on a balcony this morning, and it was stunning, and it was just beautiful and sunny. So yeah. You get differences just on the island, but you can see the dust levels here. And so the dust, when it comes, it can just cover the island, So I'm proper car proud in that I hate driving around in a dirty car. It doesn't matter how old my car is. I just like my car to be clean. But this time of year, you just kind of have to suck it up and you go, well, there's no point in washing it. It's going to get filthy like within the next day. And you just kind of, the dust is coming and it's just one of those things. So yeah, anyway, I thought I would just show you that. I'm just going to finish with the costs because as a result of all of this, as a result of the weather and everything else, certainly the dust actually, there are some hidden costs that you don't necessarily appreciate. And I don't just mean necessarily in terms of heating and cooling. I will come on to that again briefly, but with the dust going through the air, when you're driving, what you'll find is that your car really wants to be serviced more often than you would in the UK. So we will always service our car inside of the oil service intervals. We change the oil more frequently than we do in the UK. We change the filters more regularly than we do in the UK because you want to prolong the life of the oil and the engine and everything else. It's going to get clogged up more here. So we kind of budget for that. Change the oil more regularly in your cars, change the filters. And basically the cost or the running cost of your car goes up if you're looking after it. Now, you'll probably see if you do come out here, most Cypriots don't seem to look after their cars for some reason. But anyway, if you like cars and you look after your own car, just be prepared to service it more regularly because, when you get the amount of dust and the crap in the air that you do get sometimes, you just want to make sure that you're looking after it. And then there's the pool. So we have our pool cleaners come round. And again, this is not so much with dust related here, but this is just weather related. So we have a pool and it's private to us. So we have to pay pool maintenance, and we have cleaners come around twice a week in the summer, once a week in the winter. But because of the temperatures, typically we're only using it from about April to October. And then from October to April, end of October to April, it's pretty much dead to us. So my son was in the pool earlier on this week, or I think it was this week, last week. I got some friends over from school and they were playing in the pool afterwards. And, so we're starting to use the pool now, which is nice. Not with the sand in it at the moment, but, you're starting to use the pool now. But we'll then use it throughout the summer. But then come October, come November, it's actually, in October for me now, it's getting too cold. I don't like to swim in something. If it's less than sort of 23, 24 degrees, it's probably too cold for me at that point. I've swam in 17-degree water. That's fine as a bet with my son because I wasn't going to lose. But I don't do it out of choice. And so from October onwards, we have family that come over from the UK and they come over for the October half term. And they're all like, yeah, the pool. And we're like, yep, over there, guys, fill your boots. I'm not going in. So literally from probably end of September, beginning of October, I kind of stopped swimming at this point. And it's just an expense. You're paying for it all through the winter to not use it. It looks nice, but you don't use it. So if you're thinking you're going to come out to Cyprus and it's going to be warm all year round and you're going to have a pool and you're going to be able to swim all year round, I mean, you can grit your teeth. I know people that do swim all year round, but actually that time of year, the sea ends up being warmer. And for some reason, the sea takes longer to cool down in the winter. So people will go swimming in the sea because it's warmer than your pool. So yeah, just something to bear in mind. Actually, on that note, from what I do understand and from what I've experienced is that the pool, so at this time of year now, the pool starts to warm up quicker because it's a smaller mass of water. And so your pool will warm up quicker than the sea, but then, the sea seems to take longer to cool down at the end of the year or at the end of the season. So just something to bear in mind anyway. And then again, just on the terms of, on the costs and expenses and everything else, it's the heating and the cooling, right? So winter, you're going to be spending more money on heating for sure. If you've got an older house, you're going to be spending more money on your heating because a Cypriot winter, even if it's 10 degrees, isn't warm. And you will appreciate that when you come over. And like I said, watch the video I did a few weeks back on central heating and things like that. If you don't believe me, just come and try it, come and experience it, and you'll see how cold winter is, even though it's not necessarily freezing where we live. And in the summer, you're going to have the aircon costs. Again, it can be really expensive if you're running the aircon all the time. So if you don't like the heat in the summer and you don't deal well with the humidity, then you're going to expect bigger costs. It's just something to bear in mind because houses aren't optimized for it. And look, I'm going to finish with a shameless plug here just because, look, we're building houses out here at the moment, but that's exactly why we're trying to build them slightly differently because we want to make houses that are designed to be more passive. So you're not building them to the point where you're having to pay and heat them or cool them all the time. The idea is you want to heat them maybe a month of the winter and then cool them for maybe a month of the summer, and that's it. And that way you're paying less maintenance on all of your aircon units and your heating units, and you're paying less bills all year round. Because the reality is Cyprus weather can be intense either way. It can be cold, it can be hot. So you just got to bear that in mind. And so if you are renting a house out here, or you're going to buy a house out here or whatever, if it's a few years old, just be aware of the building standards. They used to be pretty shocking. Like I say, my first house, the insulation allowed me to pass my Starlink cable through the gap in the window frame up onto the ceiling, saved me having to drill a hole. But that's the insulation that you're dealing with. So just bear that in mind. So look, final summary on this. If you're thinking of moving to Cyprus, this is what we expected before we came out here. And to be fair, it seems to be the case. But if you expect 3 months of intense heat through the summer, you're going to get 3 months of it being a bit cold in the houses in the winter, and you're going to get 6 months of it being really nice. You're not going to go too far wrong with that. So that's what we were expecting for the last couple of years. It seems to have been that case. This winter seems to have been a little bit elongated into April. Like this time, like I say, last year it was warming up. But for the most part, 3 months of heat, 3 months of cold, 6 months of it being lovely. There you go. That's my summary of Cypriot weather. So look, hopefully that's been useful. If you are finding this interesting, useful in any way, shape or form, then please do give it a like and share. And if you're not already subscribed, then please do so, because still about 55% of the people watching this aren't actually subscribed. So if you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe, because then you'll get notified of any time I go live. And so it does help me out a lot. But the point is, look, when I first moved out here, there was nobody really showing what life was really like, and nobody was really documenting this type of content. So I'm trying to do it for the rest of us, the rest of the people wanting to move out here. And like I said, my only ask is really that if you're finding it useful, just give it a share. If people are asking questions on Facebook or whatever, you think this could help them, give it a share. I'm trying to help as many people as possible. And so that's it. What we're going to do now is going to go on to live Q&A and going to see who's live in the chat and see who wants to ask any questions. So we've got, listen, hi, been in Cyprus since Wednesday. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okie dokie. So Kevin and Sarah, right? If I've got the username right, this is Kevin and Sarah. So yeah, awesome. And been in Cyprus Wednesday. It's cold and it's wet. I drove over from the top of the north to the south today, and it was thick fog, rain, and cold. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's varied. I've driven over I was in Larnaca this morning, and the further west we went, the colder and the foggier it got. Or say foggy, the cloudier it got. We didn't see fog. We got lots of cloud. And Larnaca was lovely this morning. We went to Limassol, spent a bit of time around Limassol, and that was lovely. But it was cloudy, and it started to rain more at Limassol. And then we got back to Paphos, and it was just grey. It wasn't very nice. Mariam Parada, got my father-in-law and my mother-in-law on. So, Jesh Mamo, Jesh Dato. Very Monica, hi Mark. We're glad we managed to join your live session tonight. So am I. Thank you very much for joining. Appreciate it. Good having you on. Is Oliver watching too, or is he in bed for school? Mike Cummings, evening Mark. Evening Mike, hope you're well. Evening Joanne as well, if you're there, if you're watching. French dip note, so boring. Oh, cool. Well, that's all right. Are you still here? I wonder if you're still here. I wonder if you're still here being bored. Sakoba Airways, Stephen, watch something else then. It's easy, bye. Oh, well, there you go. He might have already gone. It's quite funny, actually, because I've had a few comments recently, and this makes me smile because I actually don't really care what people think. You know, I'm doing this for fun. And, you know, I find that there's different types of people in life. You get people that will either just try and do something positive with their life, or you get people that don't really do anything positive, and the way they make themselves feel better about themselves is rather than trying to elevate themselves up, they just try and drag everybody else down. And that's fine. You know, I just don't really relate to people like that. So, you know, if you are one of those people, stop watching. I actually don't care. I'd rather you unsubscribe, to be honest, because, yeah, let's be honest, we're probably friends anyway. So, yeah, go away. Although, before you go, please post more crap in the comments, because what it does is it actually helps me out, because then YouTube think you like it. And then it's going to help my engagement, it's going to help my reach, and it's going to show you even more of me. So go for it. Keep commenting crap, please. What else we got? Premium 2477. If I remember rightly, are you Chris? Hope I'm right. Do you think it's cheaper to heat your home in the winter than it is to cool it in the summer, or roughly the same on an older house? Oh, okay. Well, that's all. Okay, so this is quite a big question, because it's all relative, really. Depends how comfortable you want to be. And if you watch a video I did on my heating, I show you, I break it down, all the bills and everything else. And the bills for me in the summer, the first year we were here, we paid like 900 euros for 2 months, or about just shy of 900 euros for 2 months. But it's all very dependent. So the house had really crap insulation. It had really old chunky aircon units. And our house was like an oven, because it had glass at the front and it was like a greenhouse. So as soon as the sun hit it, it was literally like an oven. So you had the aircon on, and 10 minutes after turning the aircon off, it was like an oven again. And then in the winter, all your heat went out. So we were paying slightly less in the winter to heat. We were paying about, I think it was about 700 euros in the winter to heat the house. And like I say, 900 or so, just under, in the summer. But it wasn't comfortable. Like, all of your bathrooms, all of the touch points are cold. Your toilet seat's cold. Your desk's cold in the office. Your floor's cold. So you end up walking around in slippers or whatever, which is, you know, fine. But everything's cold. And because it's cold, and then you're sticking on gas fires, or you're heating the air, that then hits the walls, which are also cold. And then you get condensation on the walls, and then you get damp and mold and everything else. And so it's just not a nice experience. But fundamentally, you can spend as much or as little as you want. If you want to be uncomfortable, you spend less. So it just depends on your level of comfort that you want. But typically in an older house, you know, you're going to be spending not dissimilar amounts in the summer and in the winter. That said, I'm saying 3 months in the summer, 3 months in the winter where it's hot and cold, but 6 months of the year, we're not really running the aircon for 6 months of the year because you don't need to. It's a nice temperature, it's a nice comfortable temperature. You can just put a fan on. Hopefully that helps. Camel Domsky, hey Mark, hey Camel, good to have you on board. The LinkedIn lab method, message retracted. Oh, shame. Great haircut as always. Well, did my hair tonight. Did it for you guys. Phil Shaw, hi Mark. Hi Phil, or hi Philip. Good to have you on. Peria Lang, Z3Y, looking to install batteries to capture energy. Have the authorities sorted out new subsidies yet? You know what? I've heard something about this recently, and I haven't fact checked it yet, but I have heard something about it. In that, what I'm hearing, so the EAC want you to use batteries, of course. Oh no, sorry. I thought they didn't want you to use batteries, of course, because if you use batteries, then you don't need to use their electric and you can store all your own power. And if they turn your solar cells off, you can use your own batteries and everything else because the EAC will turn your power off several times a week. And so I thought if you're installing batteries, there was a block on batteries because they didn't want to do that because they're going to lose too much revenue. So what I've heard recently, and again, I haven't fact checked this yet because I've tried finding some sources online, but I haven't been able to. But anyway, so it could be hearsay, but it might be factual. I guess watch this space. It wouldn't surprise me based on what I see out here sometimes. From what I'm seeing and hearing, the EAC may be changing the contracts to force you to use batteries. But like with the solar panels, they would then have control not only over the solar panels, but over your batteries. So what that means is you'd be paying to install the batteries. They would have control over them. So your batteries, your stored energy may not even be serving your house. It might be serving somebody else's house. I think that's borderline criminal because that's the only way they would then sign off you having batteries because obviously they're going to lose too much revenue. So I don't know. I'm not sure where this is going to go, to be honest. If anybody knows more than me, because I don't know, but like I say, I'm hearing this stuff and I'm trying to fact check it and find out what there is. And I couldn't find anything on that yet. But the point is, the EAC don't seem to be doing anybody any favors when it comes to power, because let's be honest, it's a government agency. And if everybody went solar and everybody had batteries, I mean, that'd be the ideal thing, right? But then how much revenue are they going to use? So why would they incentivize that? They're basically cutting their own throat there. So yeah, basically they're not going to want to help you save money, I don't think. And not only that, even before, so when you had this net billing and I think net metering and net billing, even before all of that, I know people that had got solar panels installed on their house, but then the EAC were taking like 6 months to sign off the install before they'd even connect it to the grid. So you'd have solar panels on your house that you couldn't use because why would they want to rush and get them signed off? Because then they start losing money, right? So anyway, I would just say at the moment, watch this space, but it's something that I'm watching very closely because when we're building our houses, the whole point of us doing this, yes, we're building passive houses, but also we wanted to make them extremely cheap to run. And so we were looking at solar and looking at batteries and things like that as well. But if the EAC are going to have power to turn all of those off and control them, so not only are they going to be able to turn them off or use the power for somebody else, but you've got the wear and tear. So batteries have a shelf life, and depending on how long they last, it could be like a 7-year thing or something. You've got a certain amount of cycles where you can charge them, if it's a lithium battery or whatever, have a certain amount of charge cycles. And so there's a lot of wear and tear happening on your battery that isn't necessarily you. It's it could be the EAC doing it. So I'm kind of looking at this now going, well, how do we make our houses kind of semi off grid? Could you power a whole bunch of circuits off grid and then you're just paying for the bare minimum on grid? I don't know. This is something I'm literally looking into as we speak. So as I find out more, I'll report back to you guys. So we've got Priya Lang again. Villa being built, told best to retrospectively fit batteries to get subsidies. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can get subsidies right now. Maybe it'll change. It's like any government. It's like everything in the UK. They will subsidize certain things and then they'll turn a corner. I think diesel diesel cars got subsidized in the UK, and then they changed it, and then electric cars got subsidized in the UK, and then they changed it, and they move people along, and they remove the subsidies and everything else. Like electric cars out here, I think they're subsidized until June. I think you can get like €9,000 off or something off an electric car. So there are subsidies out here, but this is the cynic in me. You move everybody over to electric, and then you've got everybody using solar and everything else. And it just feels like the more electric, the more, unless you're off grid, the more money the government makes. I don't know. Quite cynical about this. What we got? Premium 2477. I have an older property that I'll be renovating later this year. Last year, I replaced all the windows and door frames. Can you recommend anything else to help improve insulation? Thanks. Well, if you've already done the doors and the windows, then that's awesome. You could look at getting external wall insulation. So, get stuff on the outside of the house or on the inside of the walls. You can do it that way. Let me just reread the comment. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of aftermarket insulation, because the thing is the houses out here don't really have loft space. They've got high ceilings because the heat rises. We don't really have loft space, so there's no such thing as you don't get the fiberglass insulation that you'd get in the UK. There's no loft space to put it into. It's just solid concrete everywhere. There's no cavity walls out here and things like that. So, you could put on external insulation. That might be an option for you. I've never done it personally out here, but I'm sure you could do it. But otherwise, if you're struggling with that, it's just a case of making it as cheap as possible with solar or whatever. If that's helpful or not. But Theophan, I always get this wrong, don't I? Theophan Island. Anyway, as a family of 6 living in Ireland, one of our biggest expenses is the tumble dryer. Are those even a thing there? Yeah, they are. I mean, we know people with tumble dryers, and I'll be honest, in the summer, we just stick the clothes out online and it just dries in half an hour anyway in the heat. I'm not talking about in direct sunlight here, it's just the heat. The humidity can sometimes be a thing because, if the air's damp, then your clothes can stay damp sometimes, so that is something to bear in mind. But no, we don't have a dryer. So to put it in perspective, we don't have a dryer. We've got a washing machine, but we don't have a dryer. It just all goes outside. And then in the winter, we've got a clothesline like you'd have, and just put your clothes on that, and we just keep it inside. But we don't have a dryer. But I know people that do. So I guess it's preference. Some people like dryers as well. Some people don't. Did we have a dryer in the UK? Didn't have one in the UK either. To be fair, we just used to hang everything on lines. So yeah, it's personal preference. But no, you don't need one out here. Definitely don't need one. Monica, Oliver went to bed. Oh, okay. Fair enough. We had a lovely sunny day in our garden playing football and doing some DIY jobs. Cool. Oh, well, I hope he's okay. David Kirstel, mullet user. Hi, Mark. David and Crystal here. Great channel. We are moving in a few weeks to Paphos. Cool. Thank you very much for the feedback, and best of luck with your move. If you need anything, you know where we are. Give me a shout. Happy to help. We are checking all your videos. Super helpful. Maybe a bit off topic, but do you know any good specialty coffee places that you recommend? Okay. 2 points to this. One, you can be as off topic as you like. That's the whole point of doing live Q&A. So you can take this anywhere you want to go. Ask me anything, and if I can answer it, I will. And if I can help, I will. So just because I've talked tonight about weather, if you want to ask me about coffee, fill your boots. I'll tell you what I know. My favorite coffee on the island that I've had, and I'm going to pull this up, is I've typed in Ricano and it's showing me pictures of Rihanna. I've not had Rihanna. Let me just go back to Ricano. Rikano. Sure, that's how you spell it. There we go. Right, let me show you this. And you can see this. You can see this, yes. Don't let me know because there's a massive lag. I know you can see it. Right. I like these. So it's a chain coffee shop on the island. And I just think the coffee here is amazing. I really like the coffee. When you drive past, in fact, let me pull up another map. 1 second. I'm going to pull up the map in this. I'm going to show you one. Because this is the service I provide. Right. So I know that when you're coming back from ISOP, and you're going down here, well, let me just go to, there we go, Ricano. Check this out. It looks like this grotty little kiosk. No, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Right. It looks like this grotty little kiosk. right? And it's this thing here. I've drove past it so many times before I got told about it. And for me, it's the best coffee on the island. It's better than Costa. Starbucks, in my opinion, tastes like an ashtray anyway, so I'm not a fan of Starbucks. But Ricano, and you can see the sign of it there. So again, that's the logo. But Ricano, for me, tastes amazing. And it's a chain. They've got them in various places on the island. You've got various ones throughout Paphos. So yeah, I really like Ricano. And I'll tell you one that I don't like, which is annoying because they have probably the coolest coffee shops on the island that I've seen. If I go to, let's go to map view, Cafe Me. There we go. Let's drop them in there. They've got all these little unique venues. Everyone looks different. And you see this, got a bit of grass outside. I think it's fake grass, but anyway. And you've got this greenhouse here, and it looks lovely. And you've got some that are inside buses, and you've got other ones that are all of them seem to be different, and just drive through and everything else. So it just looks plush. And compared to Ricano that I've just shown you, this looks way nicer. And when I had this, it tasted like I was drinking out of an ashtray. My opinion. If you like Starbucks, you'll probably like Cafe Me. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Right, what else have we got? Adam. Hi, Mark. We love your live streams. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Adam. Quick question. Do new builds use PIR wall, ceiling, and floor insulation? It would make a huge difference to the heating and cooling costs. Well, so the standards out here have now changed for sure. So a lot of the new builds are better insulated. In fact, there's some. So the ones I have seen, and this is the ones that have been fully built. We've got friends that have had houses fully built, and their insulation is really good. They've got double glazed windows. They've got electric floor heating, which is exactly what I would do. And so they are better insulated now. Specifically, I mean, do they use PIR wall, ceiling, and floor insulation? It depends. Fundamentally, it depends. So when you're buying from a developer, have a look at what they're doing, because they will quite often quote what they're going to do and what they won't. And if you've got a developer that's substantially cheaper than another developer, maybe they're cutting corners on insulation. The regulations have improved from 5 years ago. The regulations are definitely getting tighter. But I don't know. What I would say is, if you're looking to buy, just check with the developer that you're buying from to make sure that they are covering that sort of thing off. I don't know if that's helpful or not. Sorry, but that's what I would do, because every developer is going to be different. Okay. Drumfield. Hi, Mark. Why does the Cypriot government stipulate that you can only invest 300,000 euros in a new build house, but not a real sale home, in order to reside there? Okay, that's a good question. So it's not about. So first of all, it's a minimum of 300,000. It's not only 300,000. It's a minimum of 300,000, and it's plus VAT. So when it comes to residential real estate, you have to buy brand new, because they see it as supporting the developers on the island. You're supporting housing, you're supporting new housing, and you are basically progressing the house builds on the island. So when you buy brand new from a developer, that developer has to be registered has to be able to be registering you for permanent residency. And the minimum amount is 300,000 plus VAT for residential properties. If you buy secondhand or resale, then you're not supporting local developers anymore. You're not paying VAT into the economy anymore. So they don't do that. Now, if you buy commercial, so you could go and buy £100,000 shop, and you go, well, that's not £300,000, Mark. No, it's not. But you could buy 3 £100,000 shops, or you could buy a restaurant, or you could buy a warehouse or something like that. And if that's at the value of £300,000, because it's commercial, you have to pay VAT on top. The government gets the VAT, and you can get permanent residency off the back of it. So fundamentally, it's going to be tied in with the VAT. If you're buying new residential property, you pay VAT, albeit you can pay less VAT, because you've got, depending on when you buy and everything else and how much you pay. And if you're going to live in it, you can pay a reduced amount in VAT, versus if you're buying it as an investment property. But fundamentally, if you're buying new, you pay VAT. If you're buying commercial, you pay VAT. That allows you to tick the government's box. Hopefully that helps. Also, actually, let me just point this out as well. Sorry. It doesn't have to be a single property. So you could buy, as an example, 250 grand apartments. It doesn't have to be a single house for 300. You could buy an apartment for you to live in, and you could buy one as an investment to rent out, and that would still allow you to qualify for it, is my understanding anyway. I've never personally done it, but that's my understanding, because it's the total value of your investment rather than buying a single property for 300k. Veronica, as you mentioned, water being turned off and you didn't have water to drink, would you normally drink out of the tap? Well, yeah, because so I don't mind drinking out of tap water. It's a lot harder out here, for sure. The water is way harder than it is than what I'm used to in the UK. And so what you end up with is a lot of filtration systems coming from your mains water coming into the house, and there'll be like multi-stage filters. So we've got a big filter under our sink that filters the water coming in. It doesn't taste as good as bottled water unless you pay for a big expensive filtration system, in which case, you can literally, so there are water softeners and there are water filters that you get for kind of whole house. So everything in like shower water, everything you're washing with, all that kind of stuff, it's all kind of pre-filtered. But even before all of that, I would just drink it. It didn't taste amazing when it was warm, but you stick it in the fridge. I was happy with it, because you can drink the water out here. It's just there is a higher mineral content, if that's what it is. I'm not a water expert, but you get more of the white residue on things, so you can drink it. I used to drink it, but now, I still drink it, filling up the kettle or filling up the coffee machine, all of that good stuff. But I typically drink out of my water cooler now. And I'll be honest, I actually don't know if this is the case, but based on the Mr. Penguins, in fact, if you guys don't know what a Mr. Penguin is, let me show you. Let's go over here. Mr. Penguin water. So you can fill up your water containers. There you go, look at that, happy penguin. So literally you have this at the side of the road, and it's like a vending machine, and you take your big bottle of water, your 19 litre bottle of water, you put it in there, you pay €1.30 for 19 litres, and it fills it up. Now I assume that this machine is got filters in there, and it filters the water coming out, but I don't know, it's not like you're getting it from a natural spring. It's filtered water at the end of the day, so you could filter it yourself at home or whatever. So for me, is the bottled water that I'm buying any better than the tap water that's already filtered if you filter it through your own system? I'm not sure. But it wasn't about the filtration for me. It was about the reliability, knowing that I can get a drink if I want a drink, and my water's not going to be cut off at silly o'clock in the morning. But these vending machines are actually quite cool. Like I say, you see them like this. And in fact, if I... where can I show you one? I can show you one. I know I can show you one. If anybody's interested, didn't know we were going here tonight, but let me show you a Mr. In fact, all right. So there's one here. You get to the top of Masoggy Road. You come past the bakery. There is one. I think it's just here. Let me get the little dude. It's somewhere here. There he is. Look at that. So you literally just pull up at the side of the road, and you have a Mr. Penguin, and there you go. Look at that. €1.30 for 19 litres of water. I'm not lying. I'm not making it up. So you can literally just pull up. I've pulled up on the curb a few times, and you've chucked your bottle of water in there, and you just fill it up. So yeah, there you go. There's a little bit about water. Juliet, we've got how long does the water getting off? A day, a few hours? Sorry, English is not my native language. No problem at all. Well, I understand what you're asking, so that's cool. Hopefully I'm not speaking too fast for you. So it can vary, for sure. We've had friends in Paya, and I don't know if this was because they've had water issues, as in, I know Paya has a lot of water issues actually, but there's been water outages for like 3 days where they haven't been able to shower or whatever. I don't think that's a good thing. Now that's clearly when there's a water fault, but the problem is, and I see this a lot actually, certainly with the older houses and because of where we live, for some reason, water pipes out here, they're all exposed. So in our first house, we literally drove over the water pipes to get into the house, and they're made of plastic. So yes, several times, probably about 8 times, maybe 8 or 9 times in the year that we lived there, the 18 months that we lived there, our pipes leaked. Well, yeah, because you're driving a flipping 2.5-ton car over plastic. So why do people think that's a good idea? And not only that, but it looks a freaking mess because you have water pipes everywhere. So if you've got people that have not necessarily built the highest quality of house and everything's exposed, then you do get more water issues, and you'll see black pipes down the street. And, we've had delivery drivers run over them and then it knackers it, and then you've got no water for the house until somebody comes out and fixes it. So it's a bit annoying, not going to lie. And the water isn't that. It's not like we don't have water that regularly, but it's certainly enough to be noticeable and to be an inconvenience. And to the point where we've gone, well, let's just get a water cooler. So, but yeah, it can be off for days at a time. Certainly, I've had it here where we've lost water, even in the new house here in Tala, and we've lost water for a day at a time. Well, you turn it on in the morning, you've got no fresh water, and then in the evening it still hasn't come back on. And by the time you get to bed, it's back on. But you've got no water, and that's annoying as well, because obviously you need to, if you're running water for your garden, if you've got agricultural water coming in and you've got a garden that you need to water, when we were having the hose pipe bans last year, all of that got turned off. You weren't allowed to use it. So then you've got all your gardens drying out because you're not allowed to water them, or I think we were only allowed to, no, actually that's a lie. They were turning it on. I think it was for we had it rationed to be like, what was it? Maybe it was like 1 day a week for 2 hours, and they gave us this time slot. And they give you this time slot when you can turn your water on, and we set the timers to come on. And then, of course, the time slot wasn't accurate, was it? Because it was Sega, and they tell you to turn it on here, and then actually it was just on at another time. And anyway, whatever. It does cut off more than you'd expect, and it can be off for a while. I know it's very, very non-specific, but yeah, it's frustrating. Like I say, sometimes feels a little bit third world at times, but it is what it is. I don't not want to live here because of the water. I love it out here. I wouldn't change it because of the water. So, Furry Monica, we are moving in August and shipping the car. The MOT runs out in November. Should we get a new MOT before we leave, or is it okay to get it done in Cyprus? Not sure if possible if the car is not on CY plates. No, so it needs to be on CY plates to get an MOT. Okay. This is one of those, I would just get it done, because there'll be different trains of thought on this. The MOTs out here will last 2 years, whereas the ones in the UK only last a year. For me, for peace of mind, I did everything before I came out. So I'd got my MOT. My MOT was done. I'd got servicing done. I think I'd replaced some tires. I did everything on my car that I needed to get done so that I knew when I arrived, I didn't need to worry about it. That said, the MOT on my car did expire while I was out here. And so technically, I didn't have an MOT for a few months, actually. But Cypriot authorities didn't mind because I was on UK plates. And so it was one of these where as soon as it went over to UK plates, in order to get the UK plates, I had to have it registered. Sorry, I had to have it MOT'd here anyway, and then go down to a service station and you get it MOT'd. But I would just do it for peace of mind, personally. I would just, for me, I just want to know my car's good and safe and everything else. So, it's going to be easier for you to do it there. And if it takes you 6, 8, or maybe even 12 months, I think it took me, like 10 or 11 months or whatever it was to sort the car in the end, because we kind of got left to it. And if you haven't done an MOT or it's about to run out, then you're not going to have had your own MOT done. Personally, I'd just do it. So that would be my advice anyway. I'd just get it done. Sakoba, Stephen. Oh, Mark, are you sure? Rihanna often says she's had you. I didn't know that. I'll take it. Philip, sorry. Mark, can you put up standalone solar systems that would not be connected to the grid? Yeah, I believe so. I believe you can. So literally, there'd be nothing to stop you putting solar panels in your garden, connecting them up to a house. And literally, let's say you had a garden office and you powered your garden office off solar panels with some batteries. Like, fill your boots. It's not connected to the grid, because they talk about it in the name of grid stability. So if the grid is not connected to that in any way, shape, or form, then you should be fine. However, something to bear in mind, and I haven't done this, so because I'm renting this house, I haven't done this myself. There will likely be an implication with your insurance. So just something to bear in mind. If you've got a whole bunch of lithium batteries hanging around your house or hanging around your garden, that could be a bigger insurance issue if your batteries were to catch fire and then it causes you a problem. I know that, I think with the EAC, there is a maximum capacity of batteries that you're allowed anyway. I can't remember what it is. It's like 10 kilowatts, maybe. Don't quote me on it, because I'm kind of making that up. I can't remember the exact storage capacity that you're allowed, but there's a maximum amount you're allowed. And again, I think it comes down to safety, because if you've ever seen these videos of electric cars catching fire online, when they start going, they just go and they go and they go. And I don't know if you ever saw Top Gear back in the day, Richard Hammond, when he crashed the Rimac, and that was catching fire for 5 days after the crash because the solar cells just, kept catching. So not the solar cells, the lithium cells kept combusting, because it's dangerous. So, and this is why when you're shipping stuff over, the shipping companies want to know about any lithium batteries, because they're really hazardous. And if you've got them on your house, in your garden, even if you're off grid, yes, you save there, but you probably want to let your insurance company know. So there you go. Cool. Right. There's no more questions in the chat. So I'm going to flick over to my like and share screen. And I will just say, look, if you're finding this useful, entertaining, or helpful in any way, then please just give it a like and share. And if you're not already subscribed, then please do so. I am trying to build the channel that didn't exist when we were first moving out to Cyprus. And so, I'm just trying to document what life is really like for people looking to move over. That's why this channel exists. I'm just trying to help out as many people as possible. And so if you are finding it useful, you think somebody else might find it useful, then just give it a share. And what I will say as well is, just while we are waiting for any more questions to come through, I'll just give a little shout out actually. So met Fiona and Nigel on Friday night. I was out actually out with Lee and Lou. So I don't know if you guys are watching this, but if you are, then hi. We're out for dinner on Friday night. And then I was bumped into Fiona and Nigel, very nice people, called me over, said hello. So it was nice to meet you guys. Pleasure to see you, and good luck with your move should it happen. And yeah, met a few people actually. So if people are coming out, by all means, happy to meet up. If we've got time, if diaries align, then let me know. Maybe we can link up. I am thinking still about doing a Cyprus Unfiltered meetup, doing a regular monthly meetup as well, and just where people can get together, make it completely informal, but just for people that are coming out to the country, maybe don't know anybody, maybe you kind of see people in the comments that you kind of chat to, or you chat via the comments, maybe get to meet them firsthand, maybe it'll help you guys out, make friends before you even get to the island. So yeah, I'm looking at doing something like that, and I'll let you know as and when things happen. So there we go. What time are we on? We're on 20 past 10. It's quite an early one tonight. So look, if people got more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to stay on for a bit, answer questions, and I will help where I can. So there's no more questions coming through. We've still got 29 people online. I know there's a bit of a lag on the stream, so I will just hang fire for a sec. Yeah, if people do want to ask questions, you know where I am. Happy to answer them. Otherwise, while we are waiting for people, let me ask you some questions, because I'm talking about the weather tonight, and it's a very British thing. So is there anybody not watching from Britain? Is there anybody that isn't from Britain that's watching this thinking, oh, I'm interested in the weather too? Because I feel like the 29 people that are online are mostly going to be British people going, I want to talk about the weather, because we're all British and we can all talk about it together. We can unite. So anybody not from the UK watching this, and if you are from the UK, where are you watching it from anyway? And what's the weather like there? What's the weather like where you are? Well, there are no more questions coming through. I don't know how laggy this is going to be. I'm just watching the live stream, and it is looking like it's about 30 to 60 seconds behind. So I'm going to give it another minute or so, and if nothing else comes through, I think we can end it there. We can let you guys go. Can have an early night. Just going to sit in silence now. Just get to watch me waiting for you. You can either answer my questions or I can answer yours. I don't mind which. Or I can go. Oh, SRWM Karam. That's a mouthful. Anyway, hi, Mark. Regarding buying properties in Cyprus, do you own the land like freeholds in the UK for houses with shared facilities? How are the service charges managed? That's a good question. So I'm going to talk from experience with what we're doing, because we've got first-hand experience on that. So we bought the land, and we have the title deeds for the land. It's all in our name. We're building a number of properties on that land. And what will happen is it gets split up into multiple plots on the land, and then each property will have its own set of title deeds, which gets sold to the customer or to a client or whoever. So the plot of land will come with title deeds. And while there are many people that will say, they've bought houses without title deeds and they've just taken the risk and all of that. I personally wouldn't. That's just me. You know, if you've got money to lose and you don't mind if you buy a house without title deeds and you don't mind, you're going to potentially have problems for selling it later on and all of that, fill your boots. But for me personally, I wouldn't buy land or a house where I wasn't going to get the title deeds. And so you do hear these horror stories where developers are hanging on to the title deeds for years and customers aren't getting their title deeds. But no, you should literally be getting the title deeds for your land. So you own the land. And even though then you own the land and you own the house, if there are communal facilities, so for instance, with ours, we're going to have 7 townhouses where each family will own their land, they will own their house, they will own the title deeds, but the shared facilities, so we're going to have a big shared pool, we'll have shared communal gardens, there's going to be the communal gates because it will be gated, things like that, that will have a minimal communal fee. And it's a bit like if you go to a block of apartments, there's always the fees for the communal areas and things like that. So you will still own the land, you will own your house, but to keep using the shared communal areas, there is a maintenance fee that you would pay. And that will be very common in any kind of complex that you're buying into. If you're going to buy an apartment complex or you're going to buy in a housing complex where it's a private gated set of houses, you'll quite often, if not always, be paying that community charge or that fee. Hopefully that helps anyway. Philip Shaw, does anyone on the island close down at all over the summer? Well, the schools seem to close. I mean, that sounds ridiculous because all the schools close in the summer, but like my son finishes middle of June and he doesn't go back till start of September. I feel like I'm paying for 3/4 of the year for him to go to school. It's nuts. But do other businesses close down? I think so my wife said they did. I'll be honest. We were talking about this earlier. And my wife said that businesses close down in the summer, but I can't think of any that do. Actually, I can. I can think of some that do. Yes, I can. So it's not going to be your mainstream restaurants because obviously the restaurants thrive on tourism because all the tourists come in the summer, so they're going to stay open. So all of those types of places will be open. So my son's birthday is in the summer, and was it last year? No, was it last year? I can't remember. So last year or the year before now, we went to Nicosia because my son wanted to do parkour. And there was a parkour center in Nicosia. And we took him and you just went to a parkour club where they'd set the room up in this warehouse and they'd set it up. And that was freaking hot. That was 40 degrees when we got to Nicosia. And then we went into this warehouse and you were dripping, literally dripping sweat. But anyway, he loved it. And the parkour club that he joined, it was a bit of a free-for-all on that day. They were playing a lot of games because that was the last one of the season because of the heat. So actually, yes, there are businesses and things, services that will close down in the summer because it's too hot. So yes, there are. To answer the question. Pierre Lang or Pierre Lang? Am I pronouncing that correctly? I'm probably butchering your name. Apologies. Sitting in sunny Christchurch and flying out to Cyprus from Bournemouth on Wednesday. Cool. Safe travels. And it sounds like Christchurch is sunny. So, safe travels. Whereabouts are you flying out to? So may see you at Lick. May see you at Lick. What's Lick? What is Lick? We'll be having coffee Monday 27th, 4/11. Yes. Okay. Yes, we will. Okay. I'll try. What's Lick though? I don't know what this is. What? I feel like I've told you something here. I don't know what Lick is. I've got a really bad memory. What is Lick? Anyway. I don't know what Lick is. I actually can't think what Lick is now. Jonathan, a lot of places close in August. Thanks, Sasha. Cheers. Monica, do you have to buy the branded school uniform or can you use unbranded in Cyprus like you can in the UK? Well, I can only speak for ISOP, but they want you to wear the branded stuff. And the reason why they want you to wear branded stuff is because I think most of the private schools out here, they're run like businesses. They are all run like businesses, and so they want to kind of squeeze as much money out of you as possible, is what it feels like. I did do. In fact, I don't think I put uniforms on there. So when I did my school video earlier in the year, I broke down all the fees, and literally, like, you're paying for textbooks, you're paying for the rental of books. That's the other thing. You pay a fee, and you don't even get to keep the books at the end. You have to give them back, right? So you're renting the bloody books. And yeah, they want you to buy their uniforms as well. So you can't just go to, so for instance, when my son was at school in the UK, you'd go down to Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's always had the school trousers, and you could just buy generic grey trousers. No, you have to buy the ones with the little logo on, and they're about 3 times the price of what you could get in Sainsbury's in the UK. So yeah, it's a bit rubbish. Uh, what else we got? Yeah, Stephen. Yeah, Coral Bay. Of course. Yeah, yeah. Stephen, Coral Bay Crime Centre. Yeah. Have you had any trouble yet? And I'm saying yet like it's going to happen. I really hope you don't. Have you had any trouble though, Stephen? Hopefully you haven't. And I know that a lot of the Airbnbs will get hit down there because I guess you've got these organized gangs watching Airbnbs, and maybe if you're a resident, maybe that you're not a target so much as you would be if you're an Airbnb. But hopefully you've not had any issues anyway. Mike, what's the best way to protect yourself from unscrupulous developers that hike the shared services fees significantly? Now, that is a very good question. I would say it's all in the contract, but I know people that have had contracts with developers, and it's not worth the paper it's written on, because out here, the developer can turn around to you and go, take me to court. And then you will see them in court, and courts out here move slowly, and maybe you'll have reconciliation 3, 4, 5 years down the line. I'm actively looking to try and solve this problem with my business partner, because I'm looking at this going, you know what? How do you lower the risk for people like you and I, people coming from the UK who want to buy property on the island and not get caught by, as you say, unscrupulous developers? Because what I'm seeing, what I'm learning quite quickly is Cypriot people are lovely. I really like Cypriot people. Otherwise, I wouldn't have moved here. In business, they're ruthless and they're cutthroat, and they don't seem to mind screwing people over. I'm not saying that's everybody, but I like to sleep at night, and it doesn't seem like that bothers people out here. And they'll just go, well, take me to court then, because they know you can't do much about it, because what's going to happen is they'll carry on and they've got you over a barrel for the next 3 years. So while you won't necessarily have a problem with the bigger guys, like you've got big developers on the island, lots of people build houses with them, lots of people don't have problems, but you're paying through the nose for them because they are the big guys on the island. But if you're dealing with the smaller people, the smaller businesses, they could literally just have you over a barrel. And the thing is, if you're buying through a developer, quite often they will hold the title deeds, depending on how you've structured the agreement. They will quite often hold the title deeds right up until the end. So if they then turn around and go, you know what? Yeah, we need an extra 100 grand. And you go, well, no. And they'll go, well, you need to, or we're not going to finish your house. And actually you could just be stuck, and then you've got to try and take them to court, and they won't release the title deeds necessarily unless you give them more money or whatever. So they can literally hold you to ransom. It can be really bad. So the way we're looking to mitigate this is to be able to control the build yourself. And the way you control the build yourself is by not only being the developer, but being the builder as well. You get your own in-house team. And that's exactly what we're looking to try and do, is to go, right, how do we mitigate the risk on this? Because that way we can put an English face to the business, and we can have people that we can control, where you're not then held to ransom by builders and developers on the island. It can be really bad. Not everybody's really bad. There's lots of people that buy houses out here that don't have problems. Like I say, if you don't mind paying more, you can go to the big developers. You'll probably never have a problem and you won't have an issue. If you're trying to save money and you go to a smaller group of guys, you might have a problem. Not saying all of them will, but you might. If that's helpful or not, hopefully it is. But in terms of how do you actually know, because I didn't really answer the question, how do you protect yourself from them? I mean, it's difficult. Like I say, contracts don't seem to be worth the paper they're written on, and it's really tough. Actually, I don't know because the legal system out here, although it's based on the UK legal system, you take anything to court and it's years. And even then, so let's say hypothetically, let's say you play this out. Hypothetically, you take somebody to court, depending on how big the business is, what's to stop them just closing down their business and starting up under a new name the next day? You know, even if you win, you might not win. So it's a bit of a tricky one, that. I think what I would do is, like anything, if you're going to buy from a developer out here, if they are the bigger guys, great, you know, you're probably going to be fine. But again, look at reviews, look at, you know, fundamentally, do you trust the guys that you're looking to work with based on either reviews or based on your interactions with them or whatever? But look at reviews, look at, you know, try and see some of the builds. If you're coming out here first, see if you can go and see some of the builds that they've done, you know, see the quality of the work that they've done. And if you're dealing with smaller people, then so I've seen this, I don't want to say too much, but I've seen this with people I know where even recommendations from the island have ended up being sour. So, you know, normally it's go on user reviews, go on recommendations and things like that, but not always the case. So it's a tricky one. I kind of, how to navigate it, I don't know yet. Like I say, I'm trying to solve that problem for foreign investors. Me and my business partner are looking at going this and go, right, how do you minimize the risk for people buying? But if you want to minimize it yourself and you want to buy right now, have a look at the bigger guys on the island. You've got, who have you got? You've got Mito, you've got Dominica, you've got Corentina. You know, you've got all of these big guys like that. You've got Leptos Estates. So you've got all of these big guys on the island, which you probably won't have a problem with, but you're going to be paying premium prices, you know. So I know that's helpful. Piralang, love the, hang on, have I missed anything? Piralang, love the island. Love Island cakes. Oh, thank you. Like, I've never heard it. Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. I've never heard it referred to as lick. So yes. Okay. Now I know. I don't know why I didn't make that connection, but yes, now I know what you're talking about. Thank you. Thanks for explanation regarding shared property facility ongoing costs. Are the managing company obliged in law to justify these costs to residents, e.g., transparent processes? Steve. Well, Steve, I don't think they are. And I'll tell you why. So when I was looking to move out here in 2022, when we did the trial living, we then started looking at where we wanted to live. And you can find posts on Facebook, don't take my word for it, do a search. You can find posts on Facebook where people are complaining, and I think, if I remember rightly, it was Secret Valley. I think it was people were buying property in Secret Valley, whether it was apartments or whatever. And for the first 3 years, the developers that had sold the properties had lower maintenance fees. And after 3 years, they jacked the prices right up. And there's people complaining on Facebook going, I now can't sell my property because who's going to buy this property with this amount of maintenance fees hanging over their head? Because even if you buy the property in cash, you're still paying the best part of a mortgage on top just to cover the maintenance fees. I don't think there's any laws, regulations, stipulations on maintenance fees whatsoever. And I think that the property developers can do what they want. There's probably a law somewhere that says they can't, but like I say, have a look on Facebook, read people's stories firsthand. People have actually bought and actually gone through it and experienced it. For me, because we're going to have maintenance fees as well, we'll try and be as transparent as we can, you know, so the pool will have a running cost. You've got the pool running costs, you've got the gardeners, you know, but again, they're all kind of fixed costs to an extent because you know how much the pool guys are going to cost, you know how much the gardeners are going to cost, you know, then you're going to allow a certain amount each year for breakages, you know, lighting or whatever in the communal areas, the gates, things like that. So you can be transparent to a point, but not everybody's going to be, and certainly from what I read from 3 years ago, not everybody is. So I don't know if that helps, but yeah, search on Facebook. That'd be my advice. Search on Facebook and have a look. If you're buying into a development, actually, I'd probably do this as well. If you're going to buy into a development that is already established, then search specifically for that development. See if anybody has experienced price increases online and online. See if anybody's, check them online, but see if anybody has experienced prices being jacked. The other thing is if you're buying into a new development rather than an existing one, have a look at the developer and search for that developer online and see if they've been unscrupulous and see if they've jacked the prices up in another area. Because you've got Leptos Estates, you've got Corentina, you've got all the big guys. Well, they don't just build one set of houses, they're building stuff all over the island. So on that basis, if you've got a developer that is or has screwed somebody previously, so I don't know who they were in the sea caves, look it up, have a look on Facebook, but find out who they were. And if they've done that previously, that might make me more nervous about buying from them if they were doing a new set of builds now. That would be what I would do. That would be my approach. Ashar, so yeah, the uniforms are branded, but we use plain Sainsbury's trousers and shorts. Same with shirts. Have one for special occasions, but mostly we use the plain and much cheaper. Shh. Yes, we do, but no, we're not supposed to. Yeah, you're supposed to use the ones with the logo on. They're about 3 times the price. Cat's out of the bag now, isn't it? You can get away with it, but I think, like I say, that's ISOP. Whether other schools do the same. In fact, if there's anybody watching this that's got kids from other schools, so what are the private schools? You've got Aspire, you've got TLC. Have they got specific uniforms that you have to buy into? Don't know. But if you're watching or you're watching this afterwards, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. It might help other people watching. Adam, do the developers keep control of managing the communal fees, or can the property owners vote in an independent management company? I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I would assume that the developers keep control of it. We certainly would. Like for the ones that we're building, we would want to keep control of it. But I don't know how else you would do it. I'll be honest, because we'd want to keep control of it, because then that way we know the quality is there and we know that things are being done. If you hand that off to somebody else, yes, it's voted for, but it's then still going to have our name on the build. And then if that management company let those builds go to wreck and ruin, that's got our name on it. So I don't know if it's law, I don't know if you could vote for it or not, but even me as a developer, I would actually want to keep control of it. Not because I want to rip people off. Of course, everybody wants to say that, right? It's like people go, yeah, I'm trustworthy, you can trust me. Like the people that aren't trustworthy say, you can trust me, right? So I'm not going to say that. But what I'm saying is, I would want to keep control of it because I do want to sleep well at night. But also, if I've attached my name to something, and my reputation is there then at stake, I would want to know that my development is still being looked after, because otherwise what will happen is, 2, 3, 4 years from now, when a gate's been broken for 6 months, nobody's fixed it, or the pool pump's broken and the pool's gone green and nobody's sorted that out, I'll be like, who built those? And then it'll be, well, Mark built those. And then what? Then nobody's going to buy from me. So I would want a certain level of control of that to make sure that actually the services are being provided afterwards are actually being done. I don't know if that would change the management company. If it's something that the residents did and maybe kept control of, fine. I don't know. I don't know how that would work, to be honest. Interesting thought, though. Very interesting thought. Because I guess at that point, would you go, well, whoever buys a house actually buys into a management company? But then that just feels like a faff if you wanted to sell your house. I don't know. Not sure. But it's an interesting point. Very interesting point. Steve, we've got in UK, residents have the right to manage the shared facilities themselves. Okay. I actually wasn't aware of that, so fine. I don't know if that's the same thing here or not, to be honest, but I don't know. I mean, have a look at the sea caves. Not sea caves. Secret Valley, not sea caves. Have a look at the Secret Valley. Like I say, there was definitely residents up in arms there. I don't know if that ever got resolved. That will give you an indication as to whether or not that sort of thing can happen out here and whether or not it can be self-managed by the residents. I mean, if it can, all power to you. I mean, maybe it's not a bad thing. But yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I've not heard of that happening. I've just heard of people being ripped off, unfortunately. Steve, there's lots of Steves on this chat. Steve, no problems whatsoever yet. Good. Fingers crossed for you. Hopefully it won't. It's funny, actually. I mentioned this in another video, but I'll mention it again because, so Coral Bay, for those of you who know, Coral Bay is quite a touristy area, and a lot of tourists will go there through the summer and everything else. But as a result of that, you do get organized crime where people watch the Airbnbs. And so if you go onto the Facebook groups, you'll hear of people arriving, dropping their bags off in the Airbnb, then going off to get something to eat. Maybe they've just arrived and they come back and have had all the stuff stolen. And I think what you've got is you've got gangs and you've got people watching the houses, and they know which are the Airbnbs, and so they can just target them, you see. Now, when we were looking to rent a new house, and before we came here, we were looking at a house in Coral Bay, and I remember the landlord, lovely guy, but he lovely guy, really nice guy. His house was really nice, but there was two things. One, it was very exposed from the road, and I don't like that because I've always got an opinion that if somebody has an excuse to go past your house, you've got a higher footfall of traffic going past your house, and therefore there's more opportunity for people to see your house and think, maybe I'll have a look inside that. So if you live down a cul-de-sac or whatever, and people don't have a reason to drive past your house, then I think it just feels safer. And so this one, unfortunately, was between Coral Bay Centre and Philippos, and everybody had an excuse to go past the house. So that put me off as well. But the actual house itself was lovely, but I noticed downstairs that all of the sliding doors and the windows, they had bits of wood in the rails. And I asked the landlord, what are they for? And he looked at it and he goes, yeah, I kind of forgot they were in there. Yeah, it's just old habits die hard. We don't really need them anymore. Could take them out. And I'm just thinking he's blowing smoke at this point, because I know what they're for. It's to stop people forcing the windows open and sliding them across. It's exactly what they're for. So when you've got a landlord who, incidentally, was a lawyer, he told me that he was a lawyer because he worked in Paphos. When you've got a lawyer who's got a property who is then putting bits of wood in his window frames from an old habit, did it become more safe over time? We used to have to put wood in our windows, but now we don't. Now we don't. I just left it in there. Whatever. No, Coral Bay can be a bit of a crime hotspot, which, for us, we didn't want to be raising a family there. Plus, when we're raising a family, and I'm not saying you shouldn't ever buy there or whatever, because clearly there's going to be nice parts of Coral Bay, but for us, when we've got kids and we're going to school and we're trying to integrate here, we live next door to Greeks, and that's lovely because we get to meet Greek people and everything else. But I didn't want my neighbors to be a constant cycle of new people, new tourists coming in, because how do you integrate into that? How do you make friends with that? Plus, you potentially got parties and everything else going on around you. So, we opted out for that in the end, from security point of view, and then from a high turnover of people point of view. So we've got Stefan, right? Stephen, thank you. I like your use of the maps and Street View. Thought I would mention that. Oh, cool. Thanks. I'm glad you find that useful. Pro Monica, dziękuję, Asha. Cool. Yeah. So my wife likes it when you speak Polish. Anybody else know any Polish? You probably know more than I do. Stephen again, reasonable communal charges are only half the problem. As far as I know, many communities have issues where many residents don't pay them for whatever reason. Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting, isn't it? See, I mean, what can I say about that? I mean, for me, I just, if I live somewhere like that, you kind of go, you're paying into it, you live there, right? It's a communal pool, everybody pays in, everybody chips in. Why would you not? But that's just my mentality. But clearly, not everybody has that mentality. So there we go. Right, we are out of questions. So we're on 10 to 11. I can keep going if people want to keep going. So what I'll do is we'll give people another opportunity to put any questions in the chat if they want to keep going through. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump over to this screen and just go, look, if you are finding this useful at all, then please give it a like and share. And if you're not already subscribed, then please do so, because I think last time I checked, there's about 55% of people watching these videos aren't actually subscribed. So if you want to catch me going live ad hoc, and I do occasionally go live ad hoc, you'll get notified if you are subscribed. So if you are finding this useful, please give it a share as well on Facebook, because if people are asking questions and you think it might help them, then that'll really help me out, because it helps grow the channel as well. And fundamentally, I'm just trying to document what life is really like here in Cyprus, because this type of content didn't exist when we were moving out here, so I'm just trying to build it for everybody else now. I'm going to go back to the questions one last time. Asha, you missed Stephen's question. Oh no. I've got to scroll up. Right. Got to look for the question. There's lots of Stephens. That's the problem. Is anybody watching this tonight, not called Stephen. No. There's loads of Stephens. No, sorry. I apologize. Let me find the question. I've got to, which one's that? All right. Let's start with the top. Love Island cakes. No, right. The explanation regarding shared property facilities. No, ongoing costs. I think I got that. Adam, no. Well, you're not. Adam's not Stephen, so let's keep going. UK residents. Shared facilities. No, okay. We should be coming over for 2 weeks at the trial end of May. Yes. Okay, right. Thank you. I did miss a question. Right. So, should be coming over for 2 weeks for a 2 week trial at the end of May. Can't keep the kids off school for longer. That's fair enough. What would you try to fit in those 2 weeks if you could do it again? Well, because you're coming over to do trial living as opposed to coming on holiday, I would certainly. So, first of all, are you staying in a hotel or are you staying in an Airbnb? Because that'll change how you do things as well. So, if you can answer that question while I'm answering parts of the question, that'd be really helpful. So, what would I do? I would try and shop where the locals shop. So I would go and experience the shopping, see the food prices. So don't eat out in restaurants. I mean, yeah, you can do it. If you've never been to Cyprus, then go and experience the Cypriot cuisine because it's lovely. But shop where the locals shop. Go and see, what life is actually like out here. See the prices of things, the cost of living, and everything else. Rent a car, drive around for sure. Get used to driving out here. See what that's actually like. What else would I do? I don't know if you're into fitness or if you're into gyms or anything like that, but you could literally go to the gym and you just go and do a week subscription or a 2 week subscription at the gym. Do that, go and see what the local gym's like. And if you want, I can point you at one offline. Happy to do that. Cool. You're saying an Airbnb. Perfect. Because an Airbnb is going to give you a more realistic view of what life will be like out here. Not to the point of paying bills, because let's be honest, when you're in an Airbnb, you just crank the aircon on full, you crank the heating on full or whatever it might be. So even if you're here in an Airbnb in the winter, you'll just crank the heating up or you crank the aircon on in the summer and you don't really have to suffer the consequences of it. But if you've got your Airbnb, you can be buying stuff, coming home, eating, cooking yourself, preparing it yourself, live like you would live at home in the UK. That's what I'd say is if whatever you would do in the UK, live like you would live at home. If you eat out a lot, then fine, go and eat out. But if you prepare food a lot at home, what are the things that you're interested in? Can you do that here? And that's what I'll be doing as well. The other thing is if you are then serious about moving while you're here, just to give you a better view of real world living and real world costs, think about the stuff that you've got in your house right now. Think about the things that you may or may not want to bring over, because if you get a shipping container and bring stuff over, think about the things you're considering. Maybe you'd like to bring this, like your beds or your sofas or whatever, maybe your cars. And the things that you're thinking about bringing over or the things that you're even considering leaving, go and have a look in the shops here, because you'll be blown away by the prices and just how expensive things are. Furniture is expensive. If you're buying sofas, things like that, it's all expensive. It's all imported. Garden furniture is expensive. Like literally, I've got, we've got this secondhand set that we bought in the UK, paid 100 quid for it in the UK back in 2022. So it's like 4 years old now. And I keep seeing the same set advertised on people's Facebook groups out here that other people must have clearly brought them in. And they'll go for like 250 euros. It's 4 years old. It's got cracks in it. I paid 100 quid for it 4 years ago. Yet people are still selling it for 200 plus euros. So garden furniture is really expensive. So just when you're out here, have a look at things that you might want to bring and really get a start to feel for the costs and everything else. That's what I'd be doing anyway. So hopefully that's helpful. I know you've got 2 weeks, so you've got limited time. And the other thing as well is that if you're actually, so you say you come with the kids? Yeah, because the kids have got 2 weeks off school. How old are the kids, if you don't mind asking, Stephen? How old are your kids? There'll be a lag now while I'm just waiting for the answer to come through. If anybody else has got any questions, then feel free to ask because I'm still going strong. If anybody else sees anything else on Google Maps, let me know. I can put something on Google Maps. Well, okay, so depending on the age of the kids, again, it will depend on what they're going to do. So obviously you'll end up going to the beach and things like that, I'm sure. But if you've got young kids, go and try some of the soft plays, maybe go and have a look, see what they're like, because what you'll find is there's not many of them. And there's one called Cosmic Bowling. Cosmic Bowling's good, but it's the only bowling alley, I think, in Paphos. And, there's not a huge amount to do. So 2, 4, 5, and 6. Blimey. You guys don't take a break. Holy crap. We have one. And I don't know how people have time for more than one. You got 4. Fair play to you. Wowzers. Right. So they are all of age where they are going to be pretty young and right, what they're going to be. So have a look at what there is and isn't to do for the kids. Because in the summer, yes, you can go to the zoo, yes, you can go to the beach, but it gets a point where it's too hot. So you've got to find things for the kids to do. And certainly at that age, they're going to be getting restless. They're going to want to do things. You need to entertain them. They're not at the age where they're entertaining themselves so much yet. And so you're going to be going places like Cosmic. You're going to be going places like Playland. And once you've gone to those things, you may find that life gets a little bit boring. So maybe go and visit them and actually just think, can you be doing this for the next few years? Because there's not many options out here. That's the thing. Yes, you can do crazy golf and stuff like that. If you do crazy golf, don't go to Mario's crazy golf because that's rubbish. It's like 9 holes where there's like, you got 9 kinks. In fact, let's make this a little bit more interactive again. Let's go to the maps because let me show you. If you're into crazy golf and you're thinking what can do with the kids, let me show you Mario's golf. So that's the crazy golf. It's funny just seeing it. It's like 9 little bits of green with kinks in it. It's rubbish. But anyway, that's crazy golf. And so you could do that. Again, you're not going to do it very often with the kids, but you could do that. But there is a really cool place you can go over in Coral Bay, which has been refurbished last year. You come over to Coral Bay, you go down the main strip, and then you've got this place here, which is this kind of amusement park area. And there's a bunch of stuff to do there for kids, so kids can play in there quite often. But this here at the back, so the back garden that you see there, all of this is now one big crazy golf area, and that's actually really good by comparison to Mario's. Mario's is rubbish. This is really good. We enjoyed that. But again, once you've done these things, it's great. If you come on holiday, you do it once or twice, and that's it. You go home and you go, yeah, that was really great. But when you're living here and you've got that amount of children of that age, and it's all quite close together, see how quickly they're going to get bored, because that'd be something else I'd be considering. Having now moved out here, we moved out here with one child, and we can entertain one. You've got to try and entertain 4, and there's outside of the beach and the water park and the pool. If you've not got a pool, it's quite tough sometimes to keep the kids entertained. So yeah, that'd be my advice anyway. Hopefully that's helpful. Stephen, so regarding the non-payment of communal fees, we were advised, if buying, to check on the nationalities of the neighbours, as many are minded not to pay if they have some sort of problem. Oh, I see. Right. Okay. And what's the nationalities got to do with it? Is it certain nationalities will just choose to not pay more than others, or is it that they club together, or what's the nationalities got to do with it? It's going to sound horrible, actually. So I'm going to say this now. So I'm going to alienate my Romanian viewers, if there are any, and there probably aren't. So I'm just going to say it. So I'm not a racist person. I've never been racist. And, I like integrating. I love my son meeting all kinds of cultures of different people out here. And to be fair, I've even met Romanians out here, and, I'm absolutely fine. When you meet people, I just take people at face value. But in the UK, over the years with our property business there, we had 22 Romanian tenants. Yeah, 22 Romanian tenants over the years. 21 of them ripped us off. So I do have a negative connotation. And if I was in an area where I had a high proximity of Romanians, based on my own personal experience, I would look at it and go, are they likely to try and not pay the fees? And I would be nervous based on that. But that's my own, I guess it is racism, really. Let's just be honest. It's my own experience that's unfortunately taught me that. You kind of got burnt 21 times. And yeah. So I'm interested if it's just certain nationalities that you're thinking or that you've been advised, because I don't know. I can't think of anything where I go, maybe. So you have, in terms of nationalities, what have you got in Ireland? You've got a high population of Germans, you've got a high population of Israelis, you've got a high population of Russians, Brits, or British people, obviously. That's mainly it, to be honest. Clearly it's not. You got loads of other people on the island, but they're the ones that you see quite often. They're the languages you hear when you're walking around. So yeah, don't know if that makes any difference or not, but maybe they're more likely to club together and opt not to pay together. I don't know. Anyway, cool. We are at 11 o'clock or just 1 minute to. So if anybody's got any other questions, feel free to put them in. Now is a good time. If there's nothing else you want to ask, I will leave you to your evening and I will bid you adieu, or a fair adieu. What's the saying? Don't even know. Cool. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds just to let any lag come through. I'm going to jump over to this one last time. If anybody has got any more questions, I will keep an eye out in the chat now. If I don't see anything else come through in the next 30 seconds or so, then I will probably just let this fade out and I will just thank you all for watching. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate people dialing in each week and the ones that have dialed in and stayed on. Yeah, appreciate having you guys watching. Hopefully that's been useful and entertaining. But if you have anything that you want to see, by the way, so I've got a content plan of stuff that I'm doing. If there's anything you do want to see, is anything you're interested in, then you can message me on Instagram, and maybe if it's not on my content plan, I can add it to it and I can talk about that sort of stuff, or you can put it in the comments of the videos below and I'm happy to pick stuff up from there. So if there are things you want to see, I'm happy to personalize the content and the stuff that I'm doing, and that way it keeps it more relevant to you guys. You know, there's probably things that you're thinking that maybe I didn't even think about when we were coming out, and maybe I'm in a different set of circumstances to you and haven't even thought about it now. So yeah, if you've got anything you want to see, please shout it out, message me, whatever, and I will look to include it in the plan. Otherwise, so we've got Stephen. Just come back to me for just one last second. Stephen, thanks so much. The kids are happy just being outside. It's being the wettest start to a year here in Ireland. Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, look, that's fine. Just be aware that outside in the summer gets uncomfortable very quickly. You know, you can get shaded areas for sure. And we had a pool. We have a pool. And for the first year, probably the first year, my son was loving the pool. But now, being out here nearly 3 years, it's kind of like the novelty's worn off a little bit. And I would have killed for a pool when I was a kid. You know, my pool that I had was the paddling pool that my parents used to fill up with a kettle. Well, no, they used to fill it up with a cold hose. And then they used to try and warm it up with a kettle because try and take the chill off the water. And then after a day or so, it's covered in grass and it's all gone green anyway, you know. So that was my swimming pool when I was growing up. So you kind of expect the kids to like it, but trust me, the novelty wears off, and what becomes exciting in the beginning soon becomes the norm, and you go, well, what else is there, you know? So, but that's cool. Like I say, it's good that they're outdoor kids. You come into the right place for an outdoor lifestyle, that's for sure. So love it. Cool. There's nothing else coming through. We've got 18 people left online, but there's nothing else coming through. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to flick over to this screen one last time, and I'm just going to let it fade out. But if, like I say, if anybody wants to see anything specific, drop me a message on Instagram. Happy to do something for you guys that is a bit more tailored to your questions. Otherwise, I'm going to keep following my content plan and keep hoping you find this sort of thing useful. So have a great week, everybody. Appreciate you dialing in. Appreciate your time and attention. Have a good one, and I will catch you next week. All the best, guys. Cheers.